So hello everybody, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So request every one of you to kindly enable your videos. We'll start the class. Okay. So if I am not wrong, we had started about circulation in the previous class. We understood about the structure of human heart, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So in human heart, we understood the structure as it's a 4-chambered heart, 2 auricles, 2 ventricles. In between, we are able to see the presence of septum, and each of the heart is going, each part of the heart or each chamber is going to have the presence of the blood vessels which are connected to it. So these things we understood. So let's continue ahead and try to understand the next part of the human circulation, which is considered to be as the blood vessels. So we'll go with the next thing, which is called as blood vessels. So, as we all know, the blood is going to be pumped by the heart, but at the same time, blood will never be coming in contact with any cell or tissue or organ directly. So blood will always be moving in various types of the pipe-like structure. That's the reason why human circulatory system is called as a closed circulatory system. Why it's a closed circulatory system? Because of a reason that it is going to be present in, it is always going to be flowing in the tube-like structures, and those tube-like structures will not allow the blood to come in contact with any cell directly. So which are these the tube-like structures? Those are what we call them as the blood vessels. So the first one we have something called as arteries. So we have arteries. Second we have veins, and third we have capillaries. So these are the 3 different types of blood vessels what we have in the human body. So one is the artery, second is the vein, and third is the capillary. So what's the speciality about this? So blood vessel, which I call them as the artery. So arteries always carry oxygenated blood. So arteries always carry oxygenated blood. So that is a speciality about the artery. Veins. Veins always carry deoxygenated blood. So it is going to carry deoxygenated blood. Capillaries. What is this function of capillaries? Capillaries are always going to carry both oxygenated and deoxygenated. So they carry both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So both are going to be taken up by capillaries. So this is the main three different types of blood vessels what we have in the human body: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Now let's try to understand something about the blood arteries. What's the speciality about it? So always when you observe the blood arteries are going to be made up of three concentric layers. Means the arteries are going to be made up of three walls. So like this, three consecutive walls means the layers are going to be present, and they're all thick walled. And the lumen is nothing but the space in which the blood is going to be moving. So this particular space is what I call them as lumen. So this is what I have diagram have written is artery. So in the artery, we have three layers, and the innermost space we call it as lumen. So always this lumen is considered to be as narrow, and blood will be moving at a greater speed in the form of spurting activity. So it is something like sprinkling activity, which I call it as spurting activity. So as the walls of the arteries are very thick and the lumen is narrow, the arteries does not require any type of the valves. So arteries does not have valves. Is that clear to you? Understood, everybody? Okay. Now same way, when I take an example of a vein, it is quite opposite to that. So vein is also going to be made up of three layers of walls, but here the layers of walls are considered to be as thin layers, and you're able to see here again a space through which the blood is moving. This space is always considered to be as also lumen. See the difference here? Lumen is large, lumen is smaller or narrower. That's the difference between an artery and a vein. So veins always have a larger lumen. Arteries always have a narrow lumen. So as they're going to have the larger lumen, the walls are thin. So here what happens is the entire blood vessels of blood veins will be having presence of valves at different intervals of time. We are able to see valves present in it. So why valves are required? Valves are going to prevent the backflow of the blood. So here we don't require any type of valves, but here we require valves. Is that clear, everybody? Understood? Okay. Then lastly, we have only capillaries. So capillaries are considered to be a single wall. So they have only single wall. And here the diffusion of gases can take place easily. So as it is helping in diffusion of gases, so the arteries will be connected to the capillaries. The moment the blood comes to the capillaries, there is the diffusion of gases, means oxygen is diffused out of the capillary to the cells, and from the cells carbon dioxide diffuses into the part of the capillary. So hence capillaries carry both oxygenated blood as well as deoxygenated blood. So that's why we say it carries both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Is that clear? Is that
Yes,
clear?
sir.
Okay, fine. So these are the three different types of blood vessels what we have. Now, when we talk about the blood vessels, we say arteries carry oxygenated blood, veins carry deoxygenated blood. Now, there are few exceptions in that. Arteries, exception. Exception. What is the exception? There is one artery which is going to carry deoxygenated blood. That is considered to be as the pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. Though it is an artery, it is carrying deoxygenated blood. So that's an exception. This can be asked for 1 mark question. Please make a note of this one. It is going to carry deoxygenated blood. Now, same way, even with respect to a vein, there is an exception. There is an exception where a vein carries oxygenated blood. All veins, we say it is going to carry deoxygenated blood, but we have an exception for the vein which carries oxygenated blood. So exception is considered to be as pulmonary veins. So pulmonary veins are going to carry oxygenated blood. So it is going to carry oxygenated blood. That's an exceptional case. So arteries carry oxygenated blood. Exception is pulmonary artery, which is carrying deoxygenated blood. So where is pulmonary artery situated? It is present in the part of the right ventricle. Same way, when we say veins carry deoxygenated blood, exception is pulmonary vein, which is going to carry oxygenated blood. And that oxygenated blood which is going to be carried is connected to the part of the left auricles. Yes or no? Right? Agree with this, everybody? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, is it done? Everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can we proceed ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So next, let's try to understand about the presence, importance of blood and different types of blood groups what we have in the human body. Fine. So let's now try to understand something about the human blood. So the next heading is we go with human blood. See, we always say blood as the fluid connective tissue. So it's a fluid connective tissue. Why we call this as fluid connective tissue is basically blood is a fluid. And why it is connective? Because it comes in contact with every other cell or every other tissues in the human body. That's why it is showing connection. And hence it is considered to be as a tissue, fluid connective tissue. So this particular blood is going to have two things. One is a fluid component called as plasma. So it is going to have a fluid component which is called as plasma. Second is the same blood is going to have another cellular component. Cellular component. And that cellular component is considered to be as the blood cells. So which are the blood cells? We have different types of blood cells. We have something called RBC, also called as erythrocytes. We call them as erythrocytes. Second, we have the blood cell called WBC, also called as leukocytes. And third is platelets. These platelets are also called thrombocytes. So three types of blood cells we are able to see. Erythrocytes, also called RBC, leukocytes, also called WBC, thrombocytes, also called as platelets. So first, let's try to understand about the plasma. Now, plasma is considered to be as a pale colored fluid. Okay, pale colored fluid which contains approximately about 55% of the blood volume. Means, what exactly is this plasma made of? Let's try to understand. See, plasma contains mainly water. So when I take plasma, plasma is mainly made up of water content. And in this means water is how much? 90 to 92% component of plasma is considered to be made up of water. What are the rest remaining 8 to 10%? So that 8 to 10% are considered to be as some as proteins, which are found dissolved in it, such as albumin, as well as globulins. So these are the types of proteins which are found dissolved in the plasma. Along with that, it also contains nutrients. It also contains nutrients, such as it is going to contain glucose as the main nutrient which is going to be present in it. And also, it is going to have amino acid, fatty acid. So all this are considered to be as the nutrients which are found in the plasma. So plasma mainly contains proteins dissolved in it, and also it contains nutrients consisting of glucose, amino acids, and fatty acids, as well as it is also going to contain salts, okay, such as mainly sodium chloride, potassium ions, calcium ions. All this are found to be dissolved in it, as well as it is also consisting of other types of enzymes, hormones, steroids. All this are also present in the part of the plasma. And lastly, it is going to have certain respiratory gases. So it is going to contain respiratory gases such as mainly oxygen as well as carbon dioxide. So all this are the components present in the plasma other than water. So water, if it is 90 to 92%, other 10 to 8% is considered to be as proteins, nutrients, salts, enzymes, and respiratory gases which are found dissolved in this water. So that makes up the entire blood component. or the blood plasma. Is that clear, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Please take note of this one.
Finished, sir.
Can we proceed ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
let's try to understand the functions of the blood. Okay. So then we will try to, okay, let's first try to understand this, then we'll go with the functions of the blood. Okay. So now going ahead with this first one, which is called as the RBC, also called as erythrocytes. Fine. What is this RBC or erythrocytes? RBC, the other name is called as red blood corpuscles, which we call them as erythrocytes. Now, this particular erythrocytes are the largest number of cells present in the human body. How many cells are going to be present? Around 4.5 to 5.5 million cells per cubic centimeter. Okay, per cubic centimeter. Per cubic centimeter. So that many number of cells are going to be present in 1 cubic centimeter of the blood. 4.5 to 5.5 million cells. Now, this particular RBC or erythrocytes are considered to be as biconcave. They are biconcave in nature, or I can say biconcave shape, nature or shape, I can say. Okay, that's the characteristic feature of this RBC. Then simultaneously, this RBC are enucleated. What do you mean by enucleated? There are no nucleus. They are enucleated or no nucleus. So if there are no nucleus present in it, what is the use of this cell then? So this particular cell is going to show sacrificing nature. Now assume that if this is the RBC cell pulse, in this RBC cell, there is no nucleus. Then what is happening to the nucleus part? The nucleus part is gone, and that part which was occupied by nucleus will be covered, or it will be occupied by something called as hemoglobin. It is going to be occupied by hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is basically component consisting of hemoglobin is a combination of two things. One is iron, which is called as heme group, and another is considered as globin. Globin is considered as protein. Iron and protein combined together becomes as hemoglobin, which gives red coloration, which gives red color to the blood. So if at all the blood is red in color, it's because of hemoglobin, and that hemoglobin contains iron as the prosthetic group and globin as the protein group, which gives that red coloration. And what's the importance of this hemoglobin? So hemoglobin performs one important function in the human body. What is that? Hemoglobin can react with oxygen. So when it reacts with oxygen, it helps in carrying the oxygen to all parts of the body and becomes as oxyhemoglobin, which is considered to be as unstable component or unstable molecule. So as it is unstable, oxygen can diffuse out from the capillaries, reach the cell where there is requirement of oxygen for the respiration activities. That clear to you? And then same way, hemoglobin can react with carbon dioxide also, forming as carb-amino hemoglobin, which is also considered to be as unstable compound or unstable compound. Okay. So when it is going to be considered as unstable, what will happen to this now? Carbon dioxide from the cells is going to enter into the capillaries where there is presence of blood. Blood combines with this carbon dioxide, that is with the hemoglobin, forming as carb-amino hemoglobin. It will be transported to the part of the lungs where there is exchange of gases going to take place. Is that fine with everybody? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So then hemoglobin can also combine with carbon monoxide. When it combines with carbon monoxide, it forms as carboxyhemoglobin, which is considered to be as a stable compound. So carboxyhemoglobin is a stable compound which makes the blood highly poisonous. That's why whenever we inhale carbon monoxide, a person will be having deficiency in the oxygen supply. Why? Because carbon monoxide can react with hemoglobin, forming as carboxyhemoglobin, and that carboxyhemoglobin is considered to be as highly stable, so that your oxygen supplying capacity in the body is going to be reduced. So that's why we say carbon monoxide inhalation is very dangerous. Is that clear with everybody? Understood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then this erythrocytes or RBC, what do we have in the human body? Its lifespan is just 120 days. It is considered to be as 120 days. So the lifespan is maximum 120 days. They are going to be produced in the mainly bone marrow. They are going to be produced in bone marrow of the human body. Is that clear with everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This one. Aita barkondra?
Yes, sir.
Can we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now next, let's try to understand the second component, which is called as WBC or leukocytes. WBC or leukocytes. Okay. Fine. We have WBC or leukocytes. So WBC are also considered to be as white blood corpuscles of the human body, or we other name what we call is leukocytes. So their number varies from 4,000 cells to maximum 10,000 cells per millimeter cube of blood. Okay, per millimeter cube of blood. So that is the average count of leukocytes what we have in the human body. Now this WBC have a lifespan of very short days. So lifespan is considered to be as only 15 days. So what we understood with respect to RBC or erythrocyte was its lifespan was 120 days, but here the lifespan is just 15 days. Okay, then what is the function of WBC in the human body? WBC or leukocytes main function is to provide immunity to human body. Immunity to human body. In what way it is going to produce immunity? Immunity will be produced in the form of producing antibodies. So WBC produces antibodies, and these antibodies are mainly required to fight against the antigens. So any microorganism or a pathogen enters the human body, it produces antigens. To counteract the effect of antigen, we require antibodies produced by this WBC or the leukocytes. Okay, is that clear to you, everybody? And then WBC are going to be produced again by, they are produced by bone marrow. They are produced by bone marrow. So bone marrow fluid is going to help in production of RBC, WBC, and even the platelets. Okay, is that clear? Make note of this one. So there is one point which is actually I'm going to tell you out of your syllabus. It's not there, but if you know, also no issues. The WBC or leukocytes, whatever are there, it is going to be classified as two types. One we call them as granulocytes, and another is considered to be as agranulocytes. So what's the difference between these two? Granulocytes meaning is, if you observe, if this is the WBC cell, in this cell, cytoplasm will be having granulated structures like this. Granulated structures like this. And then nucleus will have different varied shapes. Some cases, the nucleus will be something like horseshoe shape. Like this. Nucleus nucleus nucleus. That's the characteristic feature of a granulocyte. Whereas when you take agranulocytes, if this is the cell, there are no granules in the cytoplasm, but what we are able to see is the nucleus occupies the large part of the cytoplasm. So large part of cytoplasm will be occupied by the nucleus. So this is the nucleus. Got it? Understood? That's the difference. Granulocytes, agranulocytes. Under granulocytes, we have classification as acidophils, basophils, as well as neutrophils. Under agranulocytes, we have something called as lymphocytes. Okay. Is that clear to you? Lymphocyte and monocyte. Those are two there. It's not required for you, but just know that there is agranulocytes and granulocytes. So these are granulocytes, these are agranulocytes. Fine? Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please make note of that one.
Finish, sir.
Completed? Okay, fine. Next, shall we proceed?
Yes, sir.
We proceed to the next.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So next component, we'll try to understand is platelets. Okay. So we'll go with platelets, which is also called as thrombocytes. Now, these platelets or thrombocytes range approximately 150,000 cells to 2 lakh cells per millimeter cube of blood. Per millimeter cube of blood. And what's the lifespan of this thrombocytes or platelets? Lifespan is just 3 to 5 days. And what is its importance in the human body? Thrombocytes or platelets helps in blood clotting. Blood clotting activity. So every now and then, whenever we are going to experience injury on the body, so that injury leads to an activity of what you call it as the blood loss, bleeding activity. The bleeding activity will not be continuous because there is an activity which is called as clotting. You all know that blood will clot within a matter of few minutes. And that blood clotting activity is mainly because of the presence of platelets or the thrombocytes. Is that fine with everybody? Please make a note of this one.
Finish, sir.
Over? Okay. So I understood both the fluid component and the cellular component of the blood. So let's proceed ahead and now understand the functions of blood. Let's go with functions of the blood. So let us now try to understand the functions of the blood. So what are the functions of the blood? Let's try to list out all the functions performed by the blood. The very first function, blood helps in transportation of oxygen. Everywhere oxygen has to be transported, means you require blood. Then, second, blood collects carbon dioxide from all cells and brings it to lungs. Brings it to lungs for purification. So that's the second most important function of the blood. So first function is it helps in transportation of oxygen to all the cells. Second, it collects carbon dioxide from all cells, brings it to lungs for purification. Then third important function of blood is blood carries toxic waste chemicals. Toxic waste chemicals to kidney. Toxic waste chemicals to kidney for filtration. That's another important function of the blood. So every day, various nitrogenous waste chemicals are going to be produced. So all those nitrogenous waste chemicals which is produced in the body will be actually secreted to the blood. Blood will carry that to the lungs, sorry, not to the lungs, to the kidney for the purification activity so that there is formation of urine. So that's the third function. The next, blood helps in transportation of hormones to target organs. So what will happen is all the hormones are going to be secreted from various glands in the human body. Now all those glands will actually pour those secretions into the blood. Blood will carry that to the target organs to show its functions. So this is the next important function, fourth function. Blood helps in transportation of hormones to the target organs. Is that clear to you? Okay. Next, another important function is blood provides immunity against pathogens. Because it is going to have presence of the WBC in it. WBC produces antibodies against the antigens of the pathogens. So that's why it provides immunity against the pathogens. Is that fine? Arthaita?
Yes, sir.
Then,
Yes, sir.
blood maintains body temperature constant. So that is the another important functions of the blood. So first is it helps in transportation of oxygen. It helps in collection of carbon dioxide from all the cells and brings it to lungs for purification. Third is blood carries toxic waste chemicals to the kidney for filtration. Fourth, blood helps in transportation of hormones to the target organs. Fifth, it helps in providing immunity against the pathogens. And again, lastly, maintains body temperature constant. Is that clear to you, everybody? Understood? Any doubt in this?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So this, the next part we have to understand is the double circulation activity, which we will do it in the next class. Okay. So till here, I hope no doubts to you guys. So we can
No,
proceed
sir.
ahead with
No
the
doubts.
double circulation activity in the next class. We'll draw the diagram and we'll explain that. Fine. So everybody have copied down this, what we have done? Everybody? Oh. Fine then. So we'll meet you in the next class. See you then. Bye. Thank
Bye
you.
and thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.